Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish.
And I'm congested again. Anywho,
okay,
we don't
but
need to talk
seriously, we can say how the weather is insane, and that's why everyone is sick.
I know, like the allergies are like out of control. My oldest son freaking sneezing and coughing, and so am I.
This is Ohio for ya.
Anywho.
And we're not even in peak allergy season.
It's like one warm day all of a sudden.
The small blooms of pollen attacked.
Anywho, so I watched Promising Young Woman.
Oh.
By the same lady that did Saltburn.
What was that about again?
It was like an assault revenge movie.
Okay, I don't think I ever saw it.
Yeah, I guess it was it had like 5 nominations at the Oscars.
Yeah, I remember it was a big talked about movie.
It was on, or it's streaming on Amazon Prime. That's why I I liked it. I did. My only critique on it was that I wish it would have been a little bit more over the top. But like it really was too in the middle of realistic and over the top. That's my only complaint. Like I wish it would have just like pushed it a little further.
Yeah.
But I think had I not seen Saltburn first, I wouldn't have had like that kind of expectation.
Yeah, for like what she does in movies. Yeah.
I really liked it though. I thought the acting was good and there were so many people in it. I'm trying to remember. Laverne Cox was in it. No idea that she was in it.
Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge was in it.
Like supporting roles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alison Brie, Adam Brody, McLovin. I don't know his real name. And he was funny in it. I feel like there's a couple. Oh, Schmidt from New Girl was in it.
So many people.
I know. And then Bo Burnham was in it.
Jeez.
It was good though. Like it had a really I didn't know who the one guy was, but it said who he was and I had never heard of him, but it was good. I mean, I still did like it. I just wish it would have been a little. But she would like get like guys at the bar or whatever, and she'd pretend to be really drunk and then she'd bring them home. And I wasn't sure, like she'd tally it in this book, and I wasn't sure if she was like killing them or just some of them, but if they like changed their ways, or if they decided to leave her alone, she wouldn't hurt them. But like with McLovin or whatever, she's like, I said no, and then he's like, no, it's okay. And then she's like, no, I said no, or whatever. And then she's like, I said no. And then they'd be like, she'd be like totally sober. And like, what's going on? And she'd like freak him out. So like him, she didn't kill or hurt or anything. But like Adam Brody, I feel like she may have killed him.
But it's weird that you don't know.
Yeah, it was and I don't know if maybe it was just me that didn't really understand it. But like some of the tallies would be like red and some would be black. So I'm like, are the red ones
the kills?
The kills, or is she just like hurt them?
Yeah.
Like, but the soundtrack was good again, like Saltburn's was, but it was different, obviously. I'm trying to think but it was good. I did like it, and then I looked up Bo Burnham because I think he's dating Phoebe Bridgers.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
But he was dating this Lorraine. I can't remember how you say her last name. And I guess they were dating for like 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like 10 or 12 years older than him.
Wow.
And she was, I think, the director for Hustlers.
Interesting.
Hustlers and Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
I wonder how they would have hooked up.
I know.
It's kind of random.
Like, it was. And I was so surprised that they had been together for so long because he's only a little bit
older than us. Yeah, that is weird. Thinking of, I can't remember her last name. Emerald.
The V. Does it start with a V or something?
I can't remember.
Either.
But anyway, the director. Like I did like how she seems to put thought into everything. I mean, I know it's like every director probably does that.
But she does it good.
Yeah, and it's just like she makes the movies thought-provoking too. And like goes into every detail. Like the soundtrack is so important.
Yeah.
She hits that on the head. And not to say that others don't, because we know there's a lot of movies with great soundtracks and stuff, but that's one thing that really stuck out to me about her.
I know, films. And it was good like that again. And I didn't know that the directors were the ones who picked out the soundtrack or like helped with that till that Diablo Cody interview. I was like, oh, I guess I just assumed there was a specific person that picks out music. But yeah, it was good again in this one. And just like her the way she would dress, like you could tell that was just really like thoughtful too. Yeah. And like she had like hair extensions, and I feel like, or at least I'm assuming, they were supposed to look kind of bad like when she would go out and stuff, to like look like that type of woman. But it was like, the movie was sad too, obviously, but
she thinks about that stuff too. Like we saw those interviews where she was so involved with wardrobe and everything. Like that just really brings you into a film.
It does. You know? It does when they're like fully in the character. And then when she wasn't like the, I guess, evil version, her hair would be like less look like crazy extension-y. So it was good.
I will say, I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and we were talking about our pod, and he was looking through like all of our episodes, and he's like, oh, you guys watched Saltburn, like what did you think? And I'm like, yeah, we really liked it. He's like, I just wasn't a huge fan. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like,
it wasn't for guys.
Right. And also I feel like when you can like think back now, I'm not like, and I still really liked the movie, but it's not like I'm so overly like blown away, like, you know, because I can, now that I've had more time to actually like have it process, it's like we talked about before, and I think we saw stuff where it's like, oh yeah, I can see the parallels with the what was it? Mr. or the Talented Mr. Ripley. And stuff, which obviously it's different, but I think the reason why like it was so captivating was because of everything that you just said, like the soundtrack, how the outfits fit together, how it was boundary pushing in a way that we hadn't seen in a long time in recent films, and like everything was just so thought out and like just provoking. But when it definitely wasn't the most like shocking or crazy movie I've ever seen, but I don't think we ever claimed it to be that. Right.
And I think like when we were saying too, just the set was so like that in itself was one of the best characters, really.
For sure.
There's a YouTube video that I have in my save to watch later, and it's a girl that says like, I didn't really like Saltburn, and I wanted to watch it and see what the comments and stuff were. I just haven't yet, but I could totally see where people would be like not super.
Yeah, or just compared to how much hype it got. Right. And I think it like some of the, well, I mean, not to be like, oh, we're so much better because we're older or whatever, but like when we talked about a lot of the younger kids, like I think they felt for more of the shock value and like, oh, this is just cool, and I'm gonna do Dance Around to Murder on the dance floor. But like for us, things were more nostalgic and it like hit a little bit differently, and I think it just wasn't shocking us like it was to them. And like just for somebody to see all the hype around that movie because of some of that like TikTok stuff, I could see where you'd kind of write it off, you know?
Or even like with this, I don't really remember all like the stuff around Promising Young Women, but like compared to like I Spit on Your Grave, it's not nearly as brutal. And we don't, like I said, you don't really see like a ton. But I do think that it did that like assault revenge type of movie in a way where you didn't see the woman's assault. And I just thought that was kind of like cool. Like you can still have a movie like that and not have it just be brutal for the sake of brutality.
Yeah, well, that's like what we said about the nudity in Saltburn too. Like we didn't see any female nudity, which was like full on, which was really like
crazy.
Yeah, I mean it was.
They could have easily done that with the Venetia character. And I think that's like the difference with like a female director doing it not for that, but doing it for like a message kind of, at least a Promising Young Woman.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
That's good. I'd like to see. Did she do anything else? There was something else
I think
that we
there was.
had.
I can't remember what it was. I remember in one of the interviews they were talking about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't realize that she did that movie," but I can't remember what it. I don't know if I'd seen it or not. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'd definitely like to see more from her.
Yes, me too.
I enjoyed both those movies in the way that if they felt like for women.
I know. I wish, this is like just talk about directors. I wish I was better at that knowledge.
I know.
You know, like I think we just.
I'm so hung up on the actors.
Yes,
and
like we've just been
actresses.
so infatuated with that part of it that like I never really thought about the producing, the acting, like that type of stuff. And now I'm like caring a little bit more or just appreciating that side a little bit more. And I wish I knew.
I know. Or like I only care more about like horror movie directors versus like these Oscar winners, which is kind of like a weird.
Yeah. I'm just speaking of movies and I'm trying to do some before the Oscars come out. So I'm like a little more than halfway through Oppenheimer. And then what's the other one with Emma Stone?
Poor Things.
Poor Things. Yeah, I'm going to watch that one because that's on Apple TV. But I need to take my time. I don't know why. It's like I have time after work, but sometimes I don't feel like starting a movie.
I know,
you know?
That's really hard too. Like I try to do that too, but I'm like, my mind just can't. It needs something more mindless.
Right.
Like,
I know. I can't commit to 2 hours right now. Or with Oppenheimer, it was like over 3. I'm like, okay, I'll watch some of that on Sunday, which I like. It's good. I think it's really, all those types of movies are really well done. You can't really discredit that, but it's not really one that it's like, I don't know, it gets you thinking in a historical way, I guess, because I'm like Googling how Einstein and Oppenheimer knew each other.
I know, because that was a really cool part of the movie. I know, I feel like the first maybe even hour I was a little lost. Yeah. And then it all starts like, okay, I know what we're doing now.
Because I know about that part in history. I know about the atomic bomb. I know about all that, but I didn't know about all the people involved.
Right. Or even like this like lawsuit thing. It's like, I don't even think I've ever heard of that.
I know. So that's one of the pitfalls of our education system.
I know. Literally.
I'm sure everyone in Europe learned that. And we didn't.
Dumb Americans.
Yeah, but just speaking of movies, I have not watched this. I don't plan on watching it. I think it's on Amazon, but J-Lo's movie. So you can watch it if you feel the need.
I just don't know if I'm gonna be watching that.
What is it called? Is it called
something Love?
The one, I think. I
like
saw
something like Get to Know Me, or like the
real me or something like that. I don't know. I don't care. But I saw on Amanda Hirsch, Not Skinny But Not Fat's Instagram, and she had like a whole big saga about it.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm just like, I'm sorry, but am I missing something? Like, she was in awe of J-Lo. I don't know if J-Lo like paid her under the table to promote this.
Like, please. So was it just a long music video? Like it was a visual album, or what was
I don't know. Like, but it was also a movie that went through her life.
Yeah.
And then there's a part with zodiac signs that comment on different stuff. And then, but it's also about all the like lovers she's had.
You know, the interesting thing about like J-Lo is that she has almost like, I don't want to, she like, what does she really do though? But yet she's created this.
She's like a superstar.
Yeah. And she almost like made it that way. Like, I feel like she must have just been going into dressing rooms and be like, everything has to be changed. And this like, not being a diva, but kind of. And that's what made her famous, or super famous.
Yeah. Because I mean, And because she's so beautiful,
Right.
I think.
Then there's that.
Because, I don't want to like catch a case for this, but I don't think it's a secret that like people don't think she's a great singer.
I know. And even like, wasn't it like Christina Milian or Ashanti was like her singing voice sometimes? And that's just kind of like, I mean, I think she's a good dancer, and like I liked her at a couple like Selena or like
she
Monster
had some
in Law.
like fun little songs.
Yeah.
I liked Monster in Law. That was good. Like, but it was never anything where I thought she was unbelievable or like such a standout or oh my gosh, she should be at everything. And then with dating Ben Affleck, I think that's what really got her big in. And then didn't she date, who was the rapper that she dated?
P. Diddy.
P. Diddy. Puff Daddy at the time, I think.
And they were like, remember they were at that thing and
with
there was
the
like a shooting.
Yeah. But so I think that she kind of just got in with the right people too.
And just like never went away. She like kept that fame.
And seeing the clips from Amanda Hirsch, and there seems to be a lot of emotion in the movie. And I totally agree. Like, she probably has an amazing work ethic. And I get feeling the pressure to be better or to impress people. But I'm kind of just like, who cares, J-Lo? Like, and even a part in the movie, they're like, oh, people, like, I funded this whole thing myself because no one would take it on. And people say I don't have to do it. I know I don't. I do. I want to. But like, why?
Right.
Like, why do you want to make this weird movie?
I know, this like self-funded movie. I'm kind of over like the these like big celebrities trying to be like super self-aware and like in on the commentary.
But they're not.
No, they're like not at all. It's like, and they only talk about like, I mean, we even see it in like the memoirs and stuff. They only touch base. Like they're so infatuated with like their huge moments of their career, which is fine. But it's like, I don't think it's as impactful as it was to you as it like, you know, this young generation doesn't remember any of that or wasn't around when all that stuff was in the tabloid. Like even in Paris Hilton's book, she'd like bring up, and it's like, I remembered some of those big like pop culture moments with her, but I don't know if anyone really like cares about that as much anymore. Yeah.
And I think with J-Lo, like she thinks that everybody does care or should care kind of, or just like, oh, I need, like, what do you have to prove? And then again, I understand her feeling like she has to prove something.
Right.
But that's why you kind of listen to the people around you. I mean, J-Lo could literally do nothing else for the rest of her life and still be famous.
I know. And be just like A+ list always.
So it's just like, why do this? And I'm not going to watch the movie. I haven't seen any long form part of it. But the things I have seen just seem so weird. Like, what is like going on?
The futuristic metaphors.
Yeah,
like,
I guess it's just, why are you trying to be like weirdly artistic in that way?
Right. It's like, it's okay if you're not.
Yeah. Like, just go be with Ben. It's fine. And then I guess even in one of the clips, she's talking with Jane Fonda. And she's like, why are you doing all this? Like, even posting the pictures of you and Ben, it's like you're kissing, you're always touching, it's over the top. And she's like, but that's my life. Okay, but you're like choosing to like post these like paparazzi pictures. Right. What are you doing? If Jane Fonda said that to me, I'd be like, oh, I need to reevaluate what I'm doing.
You're like, you mean I don't have to? I don't know. It's almost like in this like delusion that like she has to, and she literally doesn't. And that's kind of, sometimes when I do see stuff like that with the celebrities, I do almost like feel bad for them in a way like that. Too. Like just the, like I was saying earlier, like just no self-awareness, even though they think they are. And that's like
kind of sad.
Yeah,
and
it's
sad that they are surrounded by people that are
don't
feeding
tell them,
into
yeah.
that. Yeah. Like, I think the commercial she did for the Super Bowl with Ben, perfect.
Yes.
Just great, J-Lo. Or maybe do like little cameos in movies.
Right.
Perfect for you.
Right.
Do a couple cameos in a rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
Like, love it. And what was that movie that she had out with Owen Wilson? Marry Me or something?
Yeah, something along those lines.
Everybody was like, what is this film? What is this couple? What is going on?
My grandma and mom went and saw it. And they were loving it. I'm like,
that's exactly the demographic I would expect.
Literally loving the just
nothingness, basically. And they're not going to like watch it and critique it or tear it apart or be like, there's no chemistry. They would just enjoy it for what it is.
I just love Owen Wilson. Yeah. Jennifer Lopez. It's like, okay.
Okay, but no one questioned why.
Right.
What was even casting doing? They must have just paid Owen Wilson like freaking $15 million.
Or those two were like friends or something, and she's like, hire him.
But even in the clips that Amanda Hirsch posted, like so many people that were supposed to cameo in her movie,
I know,
bounced.
But it's like realistically, like why would they?
And what was she
would
pitching
Taylor Swift
to them?
be doing in there?
Yeah.
Or like Khloe Kardashian. I mean, I guess Khloe Kardashian one kind of makes sense, but there was like some other ones where it was like,
that's why it's so delusional. Like, why would you think, especially with everything Taylor Swift has had going on recently, even if this was filmed a year ago, it's like, or more, she still was prepping for a tour, albums. Like, why would she do this for you?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, like it just seemed random. Do you think like that scene that Amanda had shown a little bit, I know she just showed a little, do you think that was performative though, or do you think she really was like upset about these people backing out?
I don't know. I mean, even
just really dramatized.
Yeah, and even some of the parts where she's like breaking down, I'm like, well, you know, cameras are here. Like that's what I just think. And again, maybe this is us just being...
Because it's reality shows. I'm just so skeptical of everyone.
I can't believe it. But like, you know, when you see all those concert movies or like the making ofs or whatever, you have to wonder, I mean, these people, singers, whoever, know that the cameras are there. They know what shots are going to be taken that day. Like they're conscious of that. So I'm sure whoever is like... you know, producing the movie is saying, hey, we're going to need this. Right. So it just makes me feel like, were you really crying like that in front of whoever?
Right.
Are you really that raw all the time, J-Lo, with no makeup on?
Right. I know. It's like when the YouTubers do the apology videos who don't have makeup on.
Yeah.
Because somehow the makeup would be inappropriate to apologize with.
I know. That is so true. Like, it would be inappropriate for her to have makeup on in a documentary about her where she's trying to be real. Like, really? Okay, I don't know about that one. I don't know. It was just weird. I thought I was missing something because Amanda... was like in awe of it, and
I know
I was so thrown off.
I would think it was like campy and fun, but I just not right now. Watch it.
No, I mean, never. I just will never see it. I'm gonna be honest. You do start. Well, you got Netflix back.
I did get Netflix back after a long time, and I had already watched season 1 and 2 of Love is Blind. Like me and my husband like watched them together. So we were like, let's watch. I wanted to go right into season 6. And he was like, no. Because I was going to do 6 and then go back to 3, 4. He's like, no, I'm starting at 3, blah, blah. And I'm like, fine. But anyway.
What's so bad about jumping ahead?
I know. I'm like, just because everyone's talking about it now, but whatever. It ended up being fine. But we were definitely like getting not heated with each other, but heated with the people. Like we were like talking about it. But anyway, I wanted to bring up some of the like stuff that kind of like happened on the season because we've talked about stuff like that. And one of the things I wanted to bring up was there were 2 couples this season where the guy was younger.
Oh.
And it wasn't like a huge age. Like, I think it was like one of them was like 25, 26. And then the girlfriend, I think they were 30 and 31. So like the girls were 30 and 31 and the guys were 25, 26. And they were the couples that had the guys had the hardest time with the looks. And I was like, yeah. And I know like 5 years isn't that
huge
bad, you know, but it was like, I just found it really interesting that those 2 had the hardest time with the looks, and like those 2 actively thought that their second picks that they didn't end up choosing the pods were better looking when they saw them, and both shot their shot.
Oh my God.
The other ones and the other 2 girls were not having it or whatever.
Well,
but
yeah.
Well, like the girls that they didn't pick, they're like, no, you didn't
Good for
like
them.
I know, they're like, you didn't like my personality, so you don't get to have my
body,
my real my looks. So, and I just thought that was interesting because we had like talked about that, and they had the hardest time, and they would like, that show is tough too, because I think in like a real situation, a guy wouldn't be like, no, when I saw, my other girlfriend, she was hotter than you. But they were pretty like mean about it, I thought. But I feel like with this show, like I kept trying to say, I'm like, it's a show talking about like looks and if love is blind. So I don't think they would have
focused.
Been like that. They probably just wouldn't have continued to date the people. But I did think it was interesting too that both the guys did still want to stay in the relationships, even though they weren't, because they knew they had that emotional connection, even though they didn't really have the physical as much. And they still, and of course you could be like, that's to stay on the show. But I do think that was, I don't know, it's kind of cool that they still tried to stay over the emotional connection. But you wonder
too if it's like, well, I was like, they were my first choice, but really my first choice would have been these 2 had I seen them. So now this is really my backup.
I know. And it was like, they were so conflicted about that. And I think the other 2 girls were younger too. I don't know how. I know the one girl was like a year. It might have been the same exact age as the one guy, but. And I just wondered if that had something to do with it too. And it was like,
that show is so, I mean, I really need to watch. I'll probably only watch season 6.
Did you watch one or 2?
No, I never did.
Oh, okay. I thought you had watched them. Well, because
I'm
do you know the
honest,
format?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to be completely honest. When I first heard about the show, I'm like, this is so dumb.
I loved it. Like, I was so enthralled, but I watched the first season, I think right before the second season came out. Okay. So I got to watch
both of them,
1 and 2, like kind of back to back.
So this is what I know though. And I think I've heard so much more about it on podcasts in the last, like from last season and then also this season, that I'm more intrigued. But okay, they're in the pods and then they can kind of like go around and talk to each other and then they kind of make their choices, right?
Like they all make their choices and they get like a notebook and stuff and like write people down. And then you might have like your top people, like this particular season, the one girl literally like kind of, and I thought the guys were really nice about it, but they kind of like 2 of them rejected her, and then she's like, wait, there's still this one guy. So then they go, and then he's like, yeah, you want to do this? And she's like, yes. I'm like, you were her like last choice, which it was, but okay, so anyway, they do that. But what I like about this show is that then they go on like a little vacation, all of them together.
Oh, okay.
So that's when you can see like who you didn't pick.
Okay.
And see what everyone looks like who got matches. That's what I got
kind of confused about, because I would hear on podcasts them say like, well, then he saw her and she saw him, and they were talking.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, wait, how are they all together now? So then they do that, and then they kind of like go off they into get their own place.
Yeah. So you get your phones back. You can communicate with people again, and then they kind of like give you this time. I didn't remember it as much with the first and second. I thought they went right into their old apartments and like kind of went back and forth. But this time it almost seemed like they gave them these little apartments, but they could still go back to their houses and stuff. They just weren't staying there. But I don't remember if I'm just misremembering. But anyway, so then they live together and then
see where it goes.
Yeah, and then they like do like meeting the families and stuff.
But they're not like engaged.
They are.
They are engaged.
They are engaged.
Okay.
And then at the end is like the wedding. That's when they can say no before that or right at the altar.
Okay.
So those are always heartbreaking. Like this season, I remember it being kind of sad before, but this time was just like so sad to like see them up there all dolled up. And I believe that some of them really don't know until they're up there, because then everything's real when you're in the outfits.
Yeah.
And the one wedding was so, because he was Nigerian, and then so she had on like the traditional like, and all her bridesmaids had the beautiful head wraps, and he was in the thing, and he ended up saying no.
Oh no.
And I mean, I was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, okay. And she was so cool about it. And those two end up like dating afterwards.
Okay.
Because I think it's just such on like an accelerated timeline. But he's like, no, I really did have, because he was going to go back to school for 2 years.
And he just didn't want to get married.
Well, no, she wouldn't go with him because he was going to LA and they were in Dallas. Are they in Dallas or Houston? I think it was Dallas.
Oh, yeah, because they always do the city.
Which I like too, because everybody's in the same city. It's so much just like you live in Montana and you live in Florida.
Yeah. It's almost like, oh, you guys actually could have met.
Yeah. There's a couple of times where they've like said that. But yeah, so that happens. And I don't know. I just like the way it's still on that crazy accelerated timeline, and the goal is marriage at the end. But I do like that they get to be in the real world together.
I like
and
that
that's
too.
hard. And I still think they're like working and stuff. Like I don't think they take like 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it is off.
It is so like just, I don't know. You think about when reality shows like that get so many seasons, just the longevity, because even think about, obviously The Bachelor, Bachelorette has been on way longer than this show, but the first, I would even say maybe 10 seasons of that show.
It's genuine.
It was. And so you wonder with Love is Blind, if it continues on, how many more seasons, and I don't know, maybe this last season that genuine feeling isn't as theirs. Like, I don't know, because I've never watched it. But just compared to the first few,
I know.
You know, when you say, I think, you know, it seems like they really don't know and they're up at the altar. Like, they probably didn't at all. Right. You know?
And I will say, like, Love is Blind's track record of couples is a lot better. Like, I mean, even there's a couple from the first, is there one or two couples from the first season like fully still together, like married? And then in the second season, there's a couple of that Barnett and Amber, they're still together. I mean, some of these couples are like fully
for real
still together. And I've gotten wind too that there's couples that don't end up making it as characters on the show that are like still together as couples, so they just didn't do like the marriage and get filmed. And like some of them, like I said too, like after, if they say no at the wedding, they do end up like getting back together because they do still like each other. They just weren't ready to be married. And I think that that's totally acceptable to not be ready to get married. But then the one couple, I mean, I think what makes the people, there was probably like 4 people this time I thought that were really just super open to everything. And I think those are always the couples that like do the best. Like the one couple does really good, and she was like supposed to be the plus size. She wasn't even that big in my opinion. And like this guy, and I mean, they were both so open to it, had a connection, saw each other, and they're like, yeah, you're gorgeous, let's do this. Like, it was so sweet. And anyway, I just like the show. I think it does. But yeah, I'm curious about season 6 too, because then we got, oh my gosh, this season, there's like this guy who seemed really like cool and everything. And then at the end, they're like, okay, how you feeling or whatever. And he's like, are we rolling? And then they're like, yeah. He gets out. He's like, is it okay if I'm doing this? Gets out these eye drops and is like, tick, 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 tick. And
to
then
make him cry?
I couldn't figure it out. Like, and then he's like, yeah, I was just like really upset about it. And then it's like his eyes are kind of watering. And then he's like, is it okay that I do this? They're like, if your eyes are bothering you, that's totally fine. And he's like, does it okay? It was insane. What? And then because they do like a little reunion thing. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of like made a joke about it. And all the rest of the cast was like, ugh. Like they literally like didn't even say anything. They're just like, wow, that guy was insane. And I like looked him up and he was like saying that I couldn't tell if he was like, I don't know. He kind of acted like, yeah, he was like faking it. And it was the most in the guy. It was like the wildest thing I've ever seen.
Like what the heck?
It was wild, but
it's kind of cool that the other cast members weren't into that, and they're like, I mean, I guess you could argue like, oh, they were just being that way for the cameras too, but I really think it seems like the people on this show are just like, well, why not do it? Like, it seems cool.
I know. This season too, and it's been a while since I watched the other seasons, but the one guy, like him and the girl kind of got in a fight, and this was one of the younger guys and the older girls, and he was like not that nice sometimes about, this season was crazy kind of at the end. He wasn't like overly nice about her looks, and he would be like, well, you're like a 9 out of 10, but like the other girl I didn't pick was a 10 out of, like, just a crazy conversation. And then she kind of started to be like, well, you would kind of make comments about my weight a little bit. And then at the altar, she's like, you know what? You've disrespected me. You like came on to a girl at the bachelor party that wasn't shown on camera, and you told me. And he's like, no, I didn't, blah, blah, blah. And then at the aisle, it's like, you just totally ruined my self-esteem. I deserve better. And she like goes away or whatever. And then they never talk again. And then at the reunion, they kind of got into it again. And there was like this whole thing about they were going out to eat, and there was 2 cuties, and she was about to eat them. And he goes, you don't want to ruin your appetite or whatever. And she's like, you're lucky that didn't get shown, and blah, blah, blah. And they end up showing the scene. And it was like, I don't think it really helped, because to him, for him, he felt like it didn't make him look as bad. Mm-hmm. And but then for her, she's like, but there's no other context behind it too. Right. But anyway, that couple, they were like, so do any of you regret this? And then that guy was like, yeah. And he's like, you're the first person that said that. He's like, if I ruin someone's self-esteem, like, that's not the person I am. And he's like, I hated
that's nice.
It was. I was literally like cried a little bit because I felt so bad for him, even though I thought he was not nice. But he's like, I feel terrible. I can't believe I said those things. I can't believe I made her feel that way. I loved her. Like,
but that's also such just a thing where a man had never been called on that type of stuff before. And so it's like, I mean, you know, we can go deep into it. Like, what were his parents like? What was it?
Right.
But I mean, legitimately, he probably never had a woman who told him, like, hey, that kind of makes me feel bad.
I know, like, don't talk to me like that. Yeah. And she was a woman who's really like, she was insecure, but she was also, you know, she has like a whole backstory too. Yeah. But it's like, she knows better than to let someone treat her like that. And then she ended up comforting him really maturely. She's like, no, if you're the only person I would have ever done this experience with, it was so you only.
Up positive, but they didn't end up together.
No. Yeah. But yeah, and she was like really nice about it and stuff. But I know, but with others, it's hard for a man not to come off as a villain when he is saying he's not. Like last season, in season 2, there was this guy, Shake and Deepti.
I think I remember hearing.
Yeah, there was like a lot of stuff with them. But I think he really, and then he ended up super leaning into the villain thing. But I think he really was having a hard time not being attracted to her. And I like, it is a hard thing. And I think, you know, he kind of tried to play the tough guy. Like he didn't care that she said no at the altar. But I think he really did. Like he said yes. Like he wanted to marry her and try it and try something different. Again, you could say it's for the cameras and stuff. But I think that was really hard for him. And then in season 1 with Jessica, she was not attracted to the guy and she was more attracted to the other guy or whatever. But it was like she had a really hard time with that. And because that isn't an easy thing to be like, I'm not attracted to you, but I was when I didn't see what you looked like. Like, so for that, I really do feel bad for them. And I do think like there's obviously nicer ways to say it than some of them did, but that is a hard.
It is. I mean, because think about, I mean, when you're dating somebody, like the reason why you start dating them in the first place is that initial like, oh, I'm attracted to you physically. I want to get to know you more.
Right.
And like the physicality is so important in a long-term relationship, you know?
At least and then when they first, because sometimes it'll be a little confusing because they do this big reveal thing. And then they can kind of like fully get engaged at that moment, or they can like get engaged in the pods and then, you know, they'll see each other. And I think sometimes it will be like, oh my gosh, you're so gorgeous. And then they kind of like change their tune. But if you think about that too, which would be confusing for the other person, but you're so excited to see them. And then you see them there and they're like a real person and they're smiling and they're so happy to see you. It's like,
the anticipation was just so much
that you're like, oh my goodness, it's you, you know? And then later on, as you start to see like their habits and stuff, you're like, wait a minute. Like,
and you're just just those endorphins have kind of worn off a little bit. And then you actually start to see them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do feel bad. I think that is a really hard.
The show is tough. I mean, honestly, now that I know more about it and stuff, it really is. I mean, it's a crazy concept.
It is, and it's really fascinating too. And I think too, like, even if you or that person's not your type or you're not super attracted to them, they do still pick conventionally attractive people. So you're not gonna get some you're not gonna get like, I don't know if that sounds mean. You're not going to get like this beast or anything.
Yeah. Or like, oh my God, I love their personality, but like, I'm horrified. You know,
nobody's that
hard to look at.
No, it just might not be your type, or like, again, you connect with somebody else who ends up being like exactly your physical type. And then it ends up that would like kind of like the fact that they like see the other people's pretty like
that is really
that's
you're like
such a good producer thing.
Jason?
Yes. Like that is literally so good. But one of the things too that I was like thinking about was there's a lot of times where the people on the show, their families don't support it at all.
Oh, really?
And that to me would be a huge problem. And that Nigerian couple, her family, or the guy was Nigerian, she wasn't. The family for her did not want to be involved at all, did not like that she was doing this. And I think that had a big effect on him. He's like, I don't really like that. And then one of the older or younger girl with the older guy, his family wanted nothing to do with it until they were married.
Well, because it's one thing to be skeptical, right? And I think that's normal because it's a reality show and it's dating, whatever. But to be like so, I know, I'm like, that is
wild. Unless you have like a rocky relationship before that,
or there's ulterior motives or something.
And that girl, with the younger guy, that did have a big effect on their relationship too. She's like, they can't even bother to meet me, but they'll follow me on Instagram and say stuff like, well, that's not really his type. And she was, I know. Well, she was Middle Eastern. I can't remember which one. Sorry. But, so it kind of almost felt like, is that racist or is that like
weird undertones?
Yeah, very weird undertones. So I mean, that was like, I feel like I couldn't go through with it.
Yeah.
If the families weren't at least somewhat supportive. Like, I could see, like, I really wish you weren't getting married so quickly.
But I don't even think I would do a show like that if
right.
If my family was so against it, because I would know that I would have to talk about that on the show, and it's a part of the show, and I just wouldn't even want to go there. Yeah. But it would be hard if the person that you chose to be with is in that situation, and you're like, wait a second, these are supposed to be my potential in-laws,
right? And they're refusing to meet me. Like, that would be not good. I know. So there's two people this time that had families were like, no.
That's just wild.
It is wild. Sorry, hold on.
Looking over your notes.
There was another, I hate to do that, but there was another, the one guy, the different couple with the younger.
Yeah, the younger man. Yeah.
I
turned my mic off.
I know. Please don't give us another technical difficulty, for crying out loud.
Another one star review.
One didn't even have her microphone on.
It was only for a second. Anyway,
he also let the opinions of his, because he was already kind of a little bit unsure of her looks, but then when they got their phones back, he like sent a picture to his friends, and they made a comment about her looks.
That wasn't good.
Yeah. And he's like, what are you doing, man? And he like talked openly on camera about that.
Wow.
And he's like, that would also be and like letting that affect you would be hard too, and it was affecting him.
Don't you think it would though?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I was dating somebody and you said to me, what are you doing? Like, this guy is ugly. I'd be like, what?
But and that's like, wouldn't be being a good friend, I don't think. Like, if he's being, like, I think that was kind of like, if he's like, yeah, I fell in love with this girl, and then they're like, ew.
Yeah.
Like, that would be so mean, especially when you know they're in love with this person.
He went on this show. You know what the show...
It could have happened,
yeah.
And I think, like, the one girl was kind of like really picky about all this stuff she wanted, just like in general. I'm like, then you should not be on a show where you literally have no idea what you're going to get. Like, you have got to go into a show like this completely open-minded.
Yeah, just letting the chips fall where they may.
Like, you can't, I mean, you can have, expectations, or like, you can be picky, but I don't think
it's not going to work out for you then.
Show. Yeah. Right. So, even though it kind of like did, but
whatever.
Still. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say. No, I think that's kind of it. I mean, I like the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch season 6. I don't know exactly when. I hope to do it over the long weekend that was like last 2 weekends ago, but obviously I didn't do that. But I do want to start it, and
I know I'm curious to see how like season 6 is, though, like we were saying, with like it being genuine or not. So if that season doesn't feel genuine, don't let it cloud you for the
other ones,
seasons 1, 2, and 3 at least, because those I felt were pretty
really genuine and real. Okay. Well, speaking of like dating, I just was having some thoughts. So I had gone out with people like this past weekend, just like meeting new people and like, being around different guys. Like, it was fun. But then I just started thinking about like just the whole concept of dating, like at this point in my life. And I just feel like I'm not going to put effort out to somebody that like doesn't seem to really like care anymore. And I feel like, and of course that's like, oh, that's obvious, but also I feel like I seem to be attracted to men that like have like maybe are, I don't want to say broken, but the ones that are like emotionally unavailable or tortured. Like I am so into that for I don't know what reason. And that makes no sense. But I was just like, you know what? I'm not setting myself up like this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it might seem like I'm being like abrasive, but like I don't think it's productive to just be like playing the field and dating like for nothing at this point. Like I'm not saying that if I am dating somebody that I'm like trying to lock you down.
Right.
But like my intention is to like hopefully get married and at least have like a long-term relationship, and I'm dating you because I want that and hopefully you want that, and we're seeing how it goes, and if it doesn't go there then like I'm gonna break up with you.
Right.
Like I'm not dating to just like fool around and have fun.
Right.
You know, like this.
Or like play the games.
Yeah.
And like, is it too soon to text him?
Yes.
He hasn't texted me in a week. You know,
like
it's
what's
like,
the point of that?
I know, literally. Even on, not to go back to Love is Blind, but there was a point where the one girl was like, this one is almost going too well. Like, I feel like I need like, but it's like, why? And like with Love is Blind, even though there was some like 25-year-olds, they really did do like a little bit older of a age or like our age, I guess. Yeah. And I think that does make a difference when it's like, no, I'm over all that. Yeah. And
I don't know. Like that was you're so right. Like, oh, well, I'm not going to text him first, but like he hasn't texted me. What does this mean? Like I'm not doing that anymore. And like if you want to reach out, then you would. And I play the game with myself like, oh, well, maybe he thinks this, or because I said this before, he's thinking this now. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing it anymore. Like it's silly. It ends up like weighing on me way too much. And that's dumb.
Right.
And I'm also just going to be like forthcoming about that and be like, hey, like this is like what I'm doing. Like I'm not just gonna hook up with you.
Right.
You know, I'm not gonna be in another situationship. I've been down that road and it doesn't end well, and I'm not doing it. And I'm the type of person that I can probably like I was on the drive over here, I was thinking about it, and there are probably like 3 people that in all my like years from like teenage high school to like now that I legitimately was like, yeah, I want to date you for real. Like I know I'm interested immediately. I want to take this further. Like I don't know if other people like instantly know that, but I just do.
Right.
And like obviously, well, I guess not obviously, but I mean, I've been in some type of situation with more people than that, but in my mind like it was just like, oh, we're just having fun, but like I don't know, I just think it's, I don't know, like am I being dramatic, or is that
I think it goes back to like, I think we've talked about this too, like I don't want to be around people I don't want to be around anymore, or like I don't want to waste my time on people that aren't, you know, servicing me or whatever to be around. And I feel like the same thing could be said about dating someone. It's like I don't want to be around some rando just to be around some rando.
Or like, oh, I'm waiting for you to text me with like bated breath. Like, I mean, all that kind of stuff is exciting. Like we talked about with Love is Blind, the anticipation is exciting, but it's just there's all the anticipation and then the letdown when you don't, because you, again, I think this is like more of a me thing and maybe more of a like female thing in general, but it's like you work that up so much in your head. Because you like have this story kind of played out that's a fantasy. And then when it doesn't happen like you thought it would, or that you worked up in your mind, then you're really disappointed about it. And I'm not doing that to myself anymore. I'm not going to self-sabotage myself in that way anymore.
Yeah, and to like, no, again, Love is Blind, but it's like I liked that they were like really getting into it. You know, they were like really talking about some real stuff, and it wasn't all this like, like la di da da.
I'm kind of just like, let's like throw it all out there.
Right.
Like, I don't care. I would rather like talk about this random stuff now. If you're going to be vulnerable with me, then I'll be vulnerable with you. Like, let's just be honest, cut through the crap. And I think, like, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah. I think it does.
I mean,
love is blind. People think it does.
Right. And then like one of my, like the other friend that I went out with, I mean, she's so like conflicted because just, I mean, it's hard to meet people, I think, in general. And then it's like, well, do I go on the apps or not go on the apps? And she's like really conflicted by it. And I said to her, but like, why? You know, you were on them before and you were not getting anywhere and you were kind of like upset about the outcomes and how it wasn't working out, and then you're just like mindlessly swiping and then chatting with people for 2 days, and then it doesn't end up being a date, and then if it does be a date, then you were disappointed because it wasn't how you thought it would go. Like, why put yourself in that endless cycle either? It just, sometimes it feels like there's no winning, you know. And then I don't know how people just meet people anymore. And where are the people that just want to be like, we're at this place where we're done with all this random stuff and crap that I left in my 20s. And I just don't have the capacity for that kind of stuff anymore. If it comes to Ohio, maybe I'll sign up. I don't know. But then, like I said, it makes me feel like, well, am I stupid for like being that way? But then I just am thinking, I'm not going to continuously put myself in a situation to be played a fool. Like, I'm not going to do that.
I know. And I just feel like it's boring at this point.
Yes, it is.
It's like, I don't want to be dancing around with like all these randos. I don't know. It just feels boring.
And like, if I wanted to get with somebody, I could easily do that, you know, like for a one night thing or whatever. I could do that, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to just be upfront about that. Why are you hating on me for that? Like, that's silly. I just don't understand. I don't know.
Hard to find.
Can anyone out there relate?
Or like, was there like somewhere else you're supposed to meet those people?
I don't know. Yeah,
well, I think they're out there.
They're just, I have to search for them a little harder.
Yeah.
Maybe when we go to our cooking class, there'll be some single. We're two girls.
Never know.
You're not single, but we're two gals going out together. Maybe two guys decided. Maybe
there's another married one, and then him and I could talk, and then you guys could talk to each other.
Macaroons. I think they're literally called Be Mine macaroons.
There'd be only couples there.
And then us. Oh well. Why? I feel like other girlfriends would do that. It's a cute thing. I don't care either. I didn't even know that's what it was titled because it's in March. So I thought it was weird.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if they're like, I guess,
continuing on with the special. Romantic. They sounded good though. One was like chocolate dip. I'm like, damn.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, we're doing that this weekend. So hopefully we'll make some fun content.
Yes.
And then we're majorly segueing into different conversation now, but we're also going to be working on our new cover.
Yes.
Oh, I had an idea. Hopefully. I'll talk to you about it off camera because I think it could be kind of cute. So yeah, we're going to do that. That's going to be our goal for March. We have the entire month. So I know it'll fly by, but we can do this. Oh, the last thing that was my hot topic was the K-Cavi situation.
Younger guy, older women.
I guess it's like she's so beautiful. I know she looks so young.
Great.
She's hot, whatever. But like when I saw that TikTok, like you mentioned too.
Okay, wait. What cringed me out even more about that was, have you seen other people do It'd be like
no,
this
I don't think
girl
I did.
from, I don't even know, Ohio, and like just some guy from Arkansas like duetting it. Like, I mean, like middle-aged people, like you have to look it up with that song. And then when I saw those two doing it, I was like,
it was so cringe
like, not that
worthy.
song.
I just can't. And why did she agree to do that? I mean, I know that he is like a TikToker.
Right.
But come on.
I know.
You have children.
I know.
Don't embarrass them like that.
I know.
And I don't want to, you know, we've talked about this a lot on the pod before, but I just don't know where you think this relationship is going to go.
I know. It's like, and I thought she's talked about, she does not want any more kids. Like, what if this guy wants kids? And maybe she would have.
I mean, he's what, like 24? That's insane.
40, right?
Yeah, she'd have to be.
Or almost 40?
Almost.
38?
Yeah. I mean, that's insane.
It is. I mean,
yeah, I guess. And it's like, if she wants to play the field, then she is more than welcome to do that. But to go Instagram official.
I know. This guy makes me happy. Well, I bet he does.
I bet he does.
I'm like, would it be fun to be almost 40 and super hot and have some young guy for
that's
like a
also
summer?
Super hot.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but I just like long term. It's like, what's the point?
Right. That's what I don't.
You know, like kind of what we were just talking about. Like, what's the point of like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it would work.
No, and even I think flip-flop too. Like even when Scott Disick was dating like Sophia Richie and Amelia Hamilton. Yeah, I'm like
Bella Thorne.
Yeah, it's like you have 3 kids.
Right.
Where are these relationships going? And then you're bringing them around your kids. You're going on vacations. You're like, what are you doing?
I know. Like, stop it.
It's just so dumb.
I know. It just feels like kind of a waste of time. I don't know.
And I mean, good for you. You can pull a young hottie.
Show it off, girl.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the cringy TikToks.
I guess. But don't you think she's going to look back on that and be like, oh,
so
embarrassing. I can't believe.
So embarrassing.
Or
Steven. Steven. My name's not Steven. Shut up, Steven. I don't know.
Flashbacks for it. That's what it is. It's the nostalgia.
Well, I've noticed myself, I'll just go for that same kind of Steven guy. Like,
she'll be talking about it on her pod.
Literally.
In like 3
I go
months.
on to stay with this guy. He's younger. He's 24. Oh my God. It's like, okay, well, we literally saw the TikTok. Like, I love how she acts like we'll never guess in a million years who she's talking about.
I know.
I love
Even
that.
remember that last guy that she dated and then he like got arrested that same day. Like, but we knew that they were dating before, and then she tells the story, and then he's like, I'm mad that you outed me. And she's like, well, I never said his name.
Stephen, I didn't even say it was you.
But everyone knew you were dating at that time. So
she doesn't care. I always flip, not to like get into her, but I always flip back and forth if I like her, because I think like she'd be fun to go have a drink with. But to be her friend would like
a long-term friend.
It would be like awful. She'd like always be hitting on your husband.
Oh my God.
Or boyfriend, and just I don't know. She's intimidating, but
she is intimidating. I mean, that's what made her so good on
I know.
The Hills.
So
she came in, shook things up.
I know.
All right. Well, should we take a little break?
Sure.
The temperatures are starting to cool down, and you know what that means. It is cookie making season. So instead of making your own cookie dough or going and buying that prepackaged stuff at the store that we know isn't super healthy, why not try something that is actually made with good for you ingredients? that is where dough comes in. These cookie doughs are ready to make right out of the tub. And you can also eat the cookie dough raw because it is vegan and gluten-free. The best part is that it's enhanced with different vitamins and supplements that can support your immunity or help stabilize your mood. We have tried a few of these different flavors and we're always eager to try new ones. They are so delicious. We've tried the donuts as well, which are so perfect to put in your lunchbox for work. And we're going to be trying some of the delicious spreads that they have soon. So if any of that sounds good to you, go to Eat Dough. That's dough spelled DEUX.com and use our promo code WATERBOTTLE for 10% off. That's eatdough.com and use promo code WATERBOTTLE.
And we're back.
We got ourselves in the exact same positions. We just so it looked like we never moved.
That's also the funny thing on Love is Blind is they have these
we're still talking about
but the continuity when they have listen, when you watch it you'll understand why you can't stop talking about they have these gold cups that they have to use all the time for continuity. I'm like, how much are you slicing and splicing a conversation that you need to like
use this special cup?
Literally. Anyway.
That kind of stuff does annoy me though. Like I
look
see
at
continuity immediately.
When I see if it shows them from the front and their hair's front and then you get the back view and the hair's in the back. I'm like,
it makes me so mad. Or if it's a conversation and it's like one person is their back to you, but they're the one talking and you can see that their lips are moving off of the voice track. That annoys me so much. I'm like, why couldn't you have just used the same take?
I know. Like, what are you doing?
Like that just grinds my gears.
I know, that's so annoying.
All right, well, should we get into Vanderpump?
Sure.
Alrighty. Well,
it's actually kind of what I want to say before we get into it, I'm glad people are bringing up, like, there's a lot more from like the audience saying, if Sandoval's telling you that he's having these dark thoughts, why are you filming him?
Yeah, that is so true.
I mean, whether you believe him or not, he's saying it on camera. And I'm glad people are like, what are you doing, Bravo? Like, if something would have happened to him and you had that, like, on footage.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to come out and say, like, we were checking in with him. We offered therapy, whatever. Like, they have to do that. Because, yeah, he's saying...
It's kind of like, I know. And I'm like, you know what? That's true. Just saying. If he's saying that, then it should be being taken seriously and not putting it on the other cast members.
Yeah, I know. And I think, I mean, well, we don't have to dive into that. We already did before. I don't feel like going up deep into our thoughts on what he's feeling because we're going to be talking about it enough in this episode. But
whether you believe it or not, he's saying it. So,
yeah, agreed. So James brings Graham home. And I liked how, well, this was like cutting ahead a little bit, but I liked how Allie, they showed her being like, what? Like, we can't have a dog with our cat.
And that's like another reason I feel like James should have been warned about this, because what if for some reason, like, let's say he's living with some other roommate and can't have the dog? Like, that would be literally heartbreaking.
I did hear, other people say that too, that they were shocked that he wasn't given a heads up. And it was almost like too raw to be on camera.
I know. That's how I felt in the moment. And I know, like, it's just a dog, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but I just... some people think that, but I don't.
I know. Like, I guess I was thinking my dogs. And, like, too, even if you're, like, listening to, like, a true crime and they're like, the guy was tortured for 7 days before being killed. And then people are just like, and then they're like, Andy killed the dog, and they're like, the dog, how dare you? So I do feel like I don't know, maybe that's why I had such like a stronger reaction to like him being thrown off guard like that.
Well, and just logistically, it's like he didn't have a dog bed, he didn't have
anything. I'm sure he had a pink collar on this dog,
and I'm sure that, you know, some of this stuff Lisa like did provide from Vanderpump Dogs, like obviously that harness and and
then it was like, leash. What was Allie supposed to say on camera?
How could she possibly say no?
Right, it's like,
but she was pretty blunt. She's like, if he doesn't shape up after training, he's gone. Like, we're not doing this. And I think it was like kind of cute how she's like, Mr. Banks has never seen a dog before.
She's so worried about the cat.
I know.
Which is like, again, like that's the pet they had in their house.
Yeah.
And, you know, when he was sprung upon this dog that was his, and now all of a sudden it's for him or whatever. I don't know. I just thought that was wrong.
Yeah, it was clearly just for the moment, you know, on
and
TV.
It just felt like manipulative. It was on Lisa's
still
part.
a good, shocking moment. But when you actually think about,
like, that's a person that a life that needs taken care of.
Yeah, and what if James couldn't do it?
I know. And then it was
that would have been horrible.
Literally, it would have been heartbreaking for him. It would have been heartbreaking for everyone.
That would have been the absolute worst case scenario. And then they also show Katie and Ariana talking about there's something about her setbacks. I can't help but kind of like twitch a little bit when I hear them talking about this, because that was filmed in the summer and now we're at March basically and it still isn't open. I'm like, this just sucks for you guys so bad. Like, it is just,
you mean you can't just open a restaurant on a whim?
No, I mean, and I totally get that. Like, it is hard. And I think what they're saying, what they end up saying in the after show too, is like, there are so many things with the health department, with, you know, every inspection that has to come through and yada, yada, yada. Like, it is a lot. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, but it's just so like, they were so convinced that they would be able to come in and turn this place around and have it ready to go. And it's really just been shot back in their face. And then seeing it now, like months later, and the shop still isn't open. You're like, damn. You know what I mean? Also, I know I like Katie. I don't dislike her. But sometimes her like cooler than vibe gets on my nerves a little bit.
Well, and I wasn't like a huge fan of Katie in the past. But like I said before, my opinions change a little bit on her. But yeah, I could totally see somebody feeling that way about Katie, because I've felt that way about Katie in the past. It's
like, and I like her, but it's just, it's like, you know, this is a stupid thing, but even when they were in the car in that first shot, it's like Ariana's in all white, Katie's in all black. I'm like, okay, we get the little
trope.
Yes, we get the like white and dark angel, like okay, whatever. But I'm just like, all right. And then recently on her Instagram, she went on that, or is on, I don't know if it's over yet, on that like emo cruise, Emo's Not Dead or whatever it's called. And I'm like, okay, we get it. Like, it just feels like we're laying on this part of her personality so thick. And it's not that I think it's not genuine. It's just like, I'm a little over it.
Right.
Even though I still like her, I'm like, okay, we get it. And then Ariana says, I'm not going to be loyal to people who don't reciprocate my boundaries and that loyalty, when she's talking about the Tahoe trip. So that's setting up. Where does that leave Lala and Sheena, because they're going on the Tahoe trip? And then the Toms are shopping for the trip and discussing Rachel's name change. And I thought it was funny how Schwartz was like, well, this isn't actually news, but I mean, I guess it is, because I just got the alert. And then Sandoval said that he's known about it for a while. And then I'm hoping that, because we know that from other things we've heard from producers, we know that after the Tahoe trip is when they know for sure, like, she is not coming back into the picture. So I'm hoping that after these couple episodes, all this talk of her kind of just fizzles out a bit.
I know, I hope so too.
Because I'm just getting kind of tired of it.
To hear clips of her talking about it.
Right, me either. In the did you watch the after show? there were just a couple points I was going to sprinkle in while we're talking about it. Sheena had said that Tom Sandoval said he would have stayed in a hotel if Katie and Ariana decided to go on the trip. Whether or not that's true, I don't know.
Oh, he's such a martyr.
I know. So then we have a super... Oh, and then Schwartz is just saying, well, hopefully this trip is just fun and we don't have drama and it can be the start of a path forward, which those are always famous last words. And then we have probably the most awkward part of this episode, in my opinion, which was the Sheena and Brock fighting scene.
Me no likey Brock.
Yeah, it's like, I can understand his frustration, but like, dude, come on. It's a horrible look.
It is.
It's a horrible look.
It feels very, especially when you like don't see your other kid. Like,
yeah, I know.
So easy to be like, well, yeah, you don't have any problem leaving that kid because you don't care about your other kids.
And honestly, if Sheena did not love him, then she would have thrown that out already. Mm-hmm. You know, that would have been her low blow, throwing that at him.
Right. I know.
Because she easily could.
She could. I don't think she'd do it on camera, though.
But they seemed to be having like a full-blown fight when they were shopping for bathing suits. I also
feel like they weren't together very long, and then like
they got pregnant,
had that baby, and it's like, I don't know.
I agree.
Maybe whole relationship.
It was all kind of a whirlwind,
right?
Yeah. And then Sheena does drop that Tori is not going to be babysitting anymore, so I'm wondering how she comes back into the fold.
I know, or we're assuming she does anyway. Yeah, because we think it's the same girl.
I think it is. I think that was confirmed.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was confirmed.
I mean, they have the same hair,
right? So Brock is just frustrated about the nanny thing again, and he just says that he wants somebody other than family. They're having a full-blown fight in the store, and it's awkward because they keep shooting back to the one saleswoman, and she's just like, do like straightening stuff. And then Brock throws out that he knows why Sheena doesn't want someone other than family to watch her kids because she's paranoid, because her mom has made her feel kind of like less than as a mother, or just self-conscious about her own decisions, which probably has played into some of her OCD. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God.
I know, that was not cool to say that on camera. I don't
know. That was like, I mean, even if it's true,
right, it probably is true.
Which in the after show, Sheena does say, she was like, he was right by saying that. Like, my mom does get in my head, and because she has been around literally since the day Summer was born, it's like and I think the mom, she said, like, will make little comments like, oh, well, you're not going to give her that, or, stuff like that. And it did get to her, which I think is common with probably a lot of moms and their daughters when they become mothers.
Right.
And so even if he was right, that was not the time or place to bring it up.
Especially because there's so many freaking crazies out there that are probably like on Sheena, looking for Sheena's mom, and like sending her hate mail.
Right.
It's like,
I know, like, leave her alone. Literally. What's her name? Linda? Is that her name?
I don't remember.
So that was awkward. And then it set up an awkward tone for them as they go on to Tahoe. And then I thought it was really funny how everybody's prepping for the trip and packing and whatever. And then we hear James go, well, I couldn't get the paperwork for Graham to come with us, so he's on Lisa's private jet. And then cut to Graham stretched out, and Lisa's like, you've never been on a private jet before. Like, that was so funny. Then they're all at the airport, and Everyone acknowledges Tom, and then he starts crying about that later. He said in the after show, I know, he literally started crying. So I wrote down, so they kind of talk about this once they're in Tahoe. But, and he's with Shorts in the car. And I think that these were the most, well, I thought that the ones in the car could have been genuine. Like, they're just a couple, you know, maybe you had a little emotional moment, move past it, whatever. But then when I saw the confessional tears, I'm like, you are kidding me. He's literally like forcing them out.
I know, covering his face. I don't have anything nice to say.
He's like, sorry guys, I just, you know, just need
with that white nail polish.
Yeah, like,
I was like,
come on. So then he again in the after show gets emotional again, and Schwartz is like, are you getting emotional? Or the producer said it or whatever, and then he's like, yeah, it was just so good to be like back in the fold, and I was like such a pariah, and you know, they brought me back in and it felt good. And then they cut to Lala, Sheena, and James, and Lala and Sheena are like, we literally said hi. Like, we acknowledged that he existed.
It's just next level.
I know, like, he just is so dramatic about it. Like, I can't get over. Lisa has kind of a cool photo shoot. We're really pushing Wolf by Vanderpump.
We are. Is
hard.
there going to be like, because aren't they doing that, the villa?
Vanderpump Villa? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it almost feels like they're doing a Wolf, whatever.
Are they prepping for a spinoff?
I'm wondering.
I hope not. I don't think we want that. Listen, I love Vanderpump Rules, but like, if it comes to an end, like, I'll be sad, obviously, but like, things run its course, and I don't necessarily need another.
I don't need a replacement.
Yeah, with the same concept.
Right.
So I hope that it's just her opening one in Tahoe, and that'll be that.
It or whatever. Well, they don't have any characters on the show left, so they have to show Lisa more, I guess.
That's so true. But I did think the photo shoot was cool with those wolves. Like, that was sweet. And then that's when Sandoval calls Lisa and has this little emotional thing. And then Lisa warns him, like, keep the good vibes going. Then we all get to Tahoe. Everybody's in their rooms, and Brock and Sheena start to bicker about the laundry, and they're clearly not over their fight from before. And I think you're right. Like, are there some cracks in their foundation as a whole? Like, I think that they're ones that would really kind of gloss over stuff until they just announce, like, we're divorcing.
Yep. That's very Sheena.
Oh, yeah, that's textbook Sheena. And then Brock and Sandoval have a conversation about the dynamic of just the trip and the group that's all together. And Sandoval, I mean, this is just the same track over and over and over again, but he will just not let up and will not take any type of accountability and will not say for 1 second, like, he can't even just say, you know, I'm not even going to bring anything up this trip.
I know, like, they can't even back down. Like, that's just the part. It's like, you don't have to be sorry, but just back down, for crying out loud. And when he's like, no, they need to make it up to me too. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because they talked about you on their podcast.
Like get over it. About it. At this point, you've talked about everybody on your podcast and other people's podcasts too. So get over it. It's just getting old to hear him just not. He's so relentless. And then James kind of comes in the kitchen and he's just like, I'm totally staying out of it. Like, I'm just here to have a good time. I'm not trying to get in anything with Sandoval. And he makes like an awkward thing, like, I need to fix my hair to leave. And then Sandoval they're outside and Sandoval's talking about like his sobriety. And of course, Lala has to hop on the train as if it has to do with
she's
her.
She's the sobriety police.
Yeah, she's like, I think it's really great that Sandoval is taking this seriously, and it can be hard. It's like next thing you know, she's going to be asking him what his rock bottom moment was. It's like, I think we all know. Right. But whatever. It's just, that's annoying me too. Like, nobody cares.
Dead of it.
Then the dramatic entrance of Graham. It was like,
which again like threw everybody off.
But like, it kind of reminded me of like that Christmas Story scene where like they opened up all the presents and Randy didn't get his BB gun, and then the dad is like, "What's that over there?" It was like James is like, "What's coming down the stairs?" And goes over, and there's Graham, and everybody's like, "Is that? That's not."
Like, is that the dog? Like, literally, everyone was like, the dog?
I know.
Where did it come from?
They didn't understand at all. Like, that was funny. And then I liked that Lisa, on camera at least, was like, no, I'm not going to talk about, like, the story behind how we got Graham. He's here now. Like, that's it. I'm not going into it. Because, and I don't know if she did that for a different reason other than, you know, maybe not trying to make Rachel look bad, or she just didn't want to air out any laundry about how she got Graham. But I liked how she didn't make that a whole big thing.
Me of the Dorit, like, Puppygate thing.
Yes,
it's like,
Puppygate.
What is the story here? Like, I don't know who is actually telling the truth about where the dog was, how the dog got where, but.
Well, I think from what we heard on the show when Lisa first told James, she wasn't straight up. Like, I think she was pretty honest from what Rachel has said too, with like, yeah, he was in a foster care, he bit somebody. Like, she wasn't as dramatic as some of the other rumors we heard. Like, he was about to be euthanized, right? And Lisa swept it. Like, she didn't claim that either. She was just being like very vague, which isn't, I guess, that much better than lying sometimes. Right. But still, and then that's where James says I'm thinking about naming him Hippie. And I have to say, like, I knew that James's godfather was George Michael, but I like forget about that sometimes. And I'm just like obsessed with that fact.
I know. It's just like, what?
Like, that is fabulous.
It is.
Like, that's the biggest flex that you could have. Like, that's godfather
Virgin Nepo, baby.
I know. Like, your friends or your parents were that close with George Michael that you were his godson.
All right.
Like, I can't even fathom that.
I know.
Like, I'd be dropping that all the time if I was James.
My godfather.
Yeah. Oh, my godfather gifted it to me. And then the first thing in the after show, Tom Sandoval says his first thought when he saw Graham was, oh, crap, I need to tell Rachel. Which is stupid because they weren't even in communication.
I know.
So,
yeah, well, he was using it as a tactic to talk to her.
Oh, to manipulate her into responding. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then Sandoval goes in and is telling Allie that Graham attacked people, which I think Allie already knew because I think James like had mentioned about the biting. And then Brock, did you catch this where he like broke the fourth wall? And they were talking about like Graham and Rachel, and Brock's like, well, there's no way she's coming back this summer.
Oh yeah, I did hear that.
I was like, oh, like they left that in, like, so that was something that they were talking about. Like, I almost wish that would be on camera more, like them being like, is she coming back?
I know, yeah, but I also feel like this episode is kind of like disjointed.
It was really disjointed.
Kind of weird.
It was super disjointed. And then back in California, Ariana is talking to that Lucinda lady who's the designer, and then she kind of says that she's open to the possibility of Tom like having the house, but he literally can only have the house and he can't have the furniture because that's stuff that she paid for or it was custom. And then she's going through like on FaceTime with this woman and they're like, that's custom, that's custom. And I was just thinking like, that is such a privileged thing to do where like you just have so much money to blow that you're going to get custom seats for the dining room table. I mean, it's insane.
I know. Like they worked hard on that house.
Yeah, they really did.
No wonder neither one of them wants to get out.
And they clearly put a lot of money into like random stuff within it. Even she
anticipating a long-lasting relationship.
Right. Oh no, but she wasn't even in it. You know, it was just for show. And then she says that the Lego piece can be reworked to just have Ariana in it, which I thought was kind of funny.
I thought that was funny too.
And then they go back to Tahoe. Brock apologizes to Sheena about fighting in public, and it says that he wasn't acknowledging her feelings, which I'm glad that they did put that in because that would have, like, it already was a bad look for Brock, but like if they just kind of swept past that, that would have been so insensitive.
Right.
Then we have more Wolf promo and their it's full on demo. And then there's a little dig made that Lisa's like, well, we're going to be on time, which I don't know if that was a dig to when they were doing Schwartz and Sandy's or a full on dig to something about her. But that was crazy too. Like, I don't know what that place looked like before, but she is fully gutting it.
Know.
I mean, there was stuff all over, like bare bones.
I know.
That's wild. But she and this is literally her career. Like before reality, that's what she and Ken would do. So they really are professionals at that, I guess.
And Sandoval in his rodeo outfit.
And then, yeah, he had that shirt on.
I just can't. I like it. It's just so
He's
funny
such
to
a
me
character.
the way I used to freaking defend that. Like, I don't know. I just can't.
You didn't know.
I didn't.
We were all blindsided. We didn't know. You can't go back there, Hannah.
I'm like, oh, you would. I literally know. I would have been like, oh, that's kind of a cool outfit.
It's a little edgy. That's just his style. They're in Tahoe. Give him a break. And then they all do the cathartic wall hitting, and everybody's was meaningful. You know, Schwartz's was kind of sad. How he's like, I don't want to be 40 and single. And then they talked about it on the after show, and he's like, well, you know, I just kind of feel like a pathetic loser, like that I didn't think I was gonna be here. And it's like, you know, we've said this a million times. He got himself into this situation too, but it also doesn't mean it doesn't suck.
Right.
Like, I don't think he or Katie went into their relationship and their marriage thinking this is where it was going to go.
Right.
And it does really stink that you're now starting from square one. And they really did him dirty in the after show because he was saying how he's like, you know, my rent on my apartment is the same as our mortgage was. And my apartment is just kind of lame. And he's saying how he doesn't like his apartment. They do a split screen and proceed to show shots of how pathetic his apartment is. For like a minute and a half, it felt like they were just showing pictures. I'm like, oh my God, the poor man is saying how horrible he feels about his life, and now you're gonna show these stupid pictures of his apartment. But that was kind of funny. And then Sandoval says it looks like the first apartment someone gets when they move out of the dorms.
No.
I know, ouch. So everyone has a meaningful thing to say, and it's about, you know, maybe something that they have been wanting to let go of that was just impactful to them, not about other people. And then Sandoval picks up the hammer and just starts yelling insults that were thrown at him.
In his rodeo costume and his nail polish. And I did laugh. And then when they're like all looking at each other. I can't remember what Lala said, something funny like, oh. And then he hits the thing and goes, Lala. I'm just like,
he just says her
so
name in
goofy.
general. I know, it's like, come on, man. Then in the after show, he was elaborating on that, and it's just like, dude. And then even Schwartz was like, yeah, but it was entertaining. And Sandoval is not buying. Like when at the reunion, when he was being berated, that's what Schwartz said was entertaining. I'm like, and then he goes, oops, sorry. Like, I shouldn't have said that.
Because like Sandoval is used to acting like a freaking kid,
I know,
all the time, and now he's doing it and it's not cute anymore, and it's just like
you can't defend it anymore.
No, and it just makes me laugh. Like, it's just like it's so embarrassing.
It's just like he's at that level of so unaware.
Yes,
you know, he's definitely at J-Lo level.
Literally, that's some delusion.
And then Schwartz kind of is pressed to talk about the Joe relationship at dinner, which, like, who really cares about that? Because it means nothing anyway. And then Lisa asks, like, she just is at the head of the table and is just like, she's like, James, what's one thing you like about Sandoval?
Nothing. Not a one thing.
What did Sandoval even say? He's like, well, that was really awkward, Lisa.
And then I love how James was like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not doing this. It was just, and then Lisa was like,
I know.
Full smirk. I'm glad they're kind of like not, especially James is not feeding into the Lisa nonsense, which I like.
That was so funny.
That evil half smile. It's like, for you,
you know what you were doing.
Like, read the room, dude.
That was so funny.
The fact that didn't James even say, like, the fact that we're sitting at the same table is, let's just leave it at that.
And then somehow they were able to bring the dog in, which was kind of freaking hilarious to me, that then they just keep showing the picture of little hippie. Oh my God, that was so funny. And then Sandoval says he gave Ariana an offer on the house.
It did remind me of like when you know how like old people just say whatever they want, and that's just kind of what it reminded me of.
Just like, yep, I thought it. I let the intrusive thoughts win.
And you know, she wasn't engaged in any conversation with them. She was just looking at the interaction.
She's like, clink, clink, clink. James.
It just reminds me of my grandma when like something's going on and you look over and she's got like a raised eyebrow and you're like, oh no, what is she gonna say? What is she thinking?
Oh, what's gonna come out of the mouth? What's gonna be said? Panic.
Literally.
Oh, that was so good. Sandoval says he hasn't spoken to Ariana since the reunion. Good. They don't need to speak. Then we find out that he's going to plan a wellness day, and he's so into that for the next day. I'm like, why is this always like a thing? Even on like Housewives, it's like, well, Dorit planned this, and then tomorrow Crystal planned. Like, I don't care. Just tell me that production set it all up.
I know.
You know what I mean? I don't care.
Dumb.
You didn't plan this. Stop.
I know. Like, literally, they were probably like, Sandoval, don't you think it would be cool if we did like a wellness retreat? Yeah. Tell everybody. Okay.
Yeah. I tell everybody that I chose that, or we're going to tell people that you planned this whole day.
I know.
Or it's like, here's a list of activities.
Pick one.
Choose one. Yeah. Like,
wellness.
He
All right,
didn't
let's do that.
plan this. And then we flash forward a little bit through whatever else went on at dinner. And this is where we come to the end of the episode where Sandoval's like suddenly realizes, I need to make amends with James, even though the last time I completely ruined this. And James is like, okay, fine. And the whole time he's talking to James and he's like in the confessional, I need to acknowledge his feelings. I'm like, really? You need to acknowledge everybody else's feelings except for Ariana's.
I know. I thought that too. I'm like, oh, well, that's nice. Can you finally admit that you and Ariana were actually in a relationship for the past 9-10 years?
Yeah, like it's so dumb. And then he says, this is what annoys me probably the most, right? Sandoval's like, we didn't mean to hurt anybody. And James is like, no one does something like that with the intention of hurting someone, but you did. Like, you have to acknowledge that you did. And they even talked about that in the after show. And Schwartz is like, no, you didn't go into it with like malicious intent or to be spiteful. No, you didn't. But you also knew that this would hurt.
I know.
Ariana.
And it's like, okay, well, it did. I know. It's like, that's besides the point. It's like, you did hurt people.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't want to. And again, it's like, we've talked about it too. It's like, I believe they had feelings for each other. I believe
all that.
It's like, I believe all these 60 was feeling, but the way he can't acknowledge that it would hurt somebody is just beyond.
It's insane. And that's where like the narcissistic stuff has to be coming to play, because he just cannot look past his thought process at that time. Like he
wasn't trying to hurt you, so you shouldn't be hurt.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's not the way it works.
That's not how it works at all. And then James was pushing back and he's like, if you could have just left, you leave. Like, why could, and he's like, well, it's not that simple. And he's like, but it is. Like, you leave. And he can't just admit that he handled it so horrifically.
I know.
And then when he said, all I can do is say, well, I'm never going to do that again. Well, I should hope you never do that again. And even James was like, okay. Like, what do you even say to that?
I know.
Like, after all of this, that was your conclusion. I'm never going to do that again.
I'll never get caught like that again.
Like, that's like, oh, I got a speeding ticket. Well, my lesson is I'm not going to speed anymore. It's not the same.
No.
It's not the same. It's just insane. Like, he should have left. It was simple, and he didn't do it. And he still cannot acknowledge that.
Still to this day, February, 28th.
Yeah, he still can't. And then James says, well, are you going to be with her now? And was this all even worth it? And Sandoval said that, I don't know, but I just needed out of what I was in. I needed a change. Okay, but the way to go about that change was to not to have a 8 whatever, we don't even know how long, many months long it was, affair with your partner's best girlfriend.
Right.
That's not what you do if you need a change in your life. And then I'm not going to go into everything again because it just gets us so fired up. But it's like, it's not only that, it's that how you lied about it the entire time, how you were so conniving and sneaky under everyone's noses, how you were going to couples therapy and trying to work through it.
I know, still hooking up with Ariana.
Yes, like it's just... Those are the things, because honestly, if it was just like we slept together.
Right.
And even if it was a couple times.
Right.
It would have been like, I don't want to say fully forgivable.
But it has been forgiven on the show in the past.
Yeah.
And in their relationship in the past.
Yeah, that's true. And it's just... I don't know. The lying and the way everything was covered up,
not backing down. The horrific things he said to Ariana. Yeah, it's the lying, the manipulation, even to Rachel. It's like,
and then just not acknowledging Like, you hurt everybody in the group. You said horrible things to Sheena. You said horrible things to James. These people are supposed to be your friends.
Right.
And you just toss them away.
I know, for nothing.
And I still feel like, you know, in the after show, he kind of says, you know, I do acknowledge that James did look at me like a brother, but he doesn't really say that he felt that same way or that that was reciprocated. And I don't think it was.
No, because I don't think he's capable at this point. I don't think he was ever capable of having like real genuine relationships. Yeah, like feelings like that.
He can't look outside of himself.
No.
Yeah, just the fact that like he's able to somehow or fakely, I think he's able to take accountability with like James, and we've seen it with Schwartz, but
with
he
the
does,
men.
yeah, and also just because he knows that if he does this, he's gonna get somewhere. Okay, right. I'm this much closer to being in with this group,
right?
And he knows that it's never gonna happen with Ariana, so he doesn't even bother,
right?
Which again, his taking accountability is all self-serving,
right?
And then in the after show, James says, like now in the after show, he's like, things aren't going well with Sandoval because he still is continuing to live in the past. And even like when they have conversations as that after show is being filmed, he still can't like move on past things that James, like he keeps trying to relate what James did in the past to what happened now. And James just isn't going to go there. So it seems like this mini, I don't even want to call it a reconciliation because I don't think it was that, but this conversation that seemed like it was maybe a path forward has not been a path forward. I don't know. I'm really hoping that after Tahoe, like I said, that we kind of get a change here.
I know. Like, can we just see them doing something else instead of having these annoying conversations with Sandoval? Like, I don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah, I would honestly, at this point, I'd rather us just pretend, like just not even speak about Scandival and move on. It would be more entertaining.
I know. And it's like, it's not that it's, like I wasn't expecting this to be like an incredible season or anything.
Me either.
But I just, it's the way they just did it this season and a disservice by when they released it and when they filmed it. And
I truly think the filming, I know that they're like, you know, this is when we usually would do it.
Right.
But for me, it's really the release, just because it's so hard for us to watch.
You know, we shouldn't be watching this all through March, all through April. You know what I mean? It's like,
just, when it happened so long ago, like it's so hard.
It's hard to go back to that spot, like even with the Housewives.
Yeah,
I was like, why are we going? We're backtracking when we've seen so much in the media, like the media. And I have noticed that it seems like the Vanderpump cast has been a little quieter on their personal stuff about like the show lately. So I wonder if they did kind of, or maybe they're seeing the feedback, like you guys kind of ruined your own show.
Yeah, because I noticed yesterday they all put up posts and pictures about Tahoe. So it's like they're only talking about what's happening right now. And I know they're not filming right now. I don't know when. Well, I guess they filmed the reunion in March, I guess, didn't they?
Probably, but I don't. Yeah, probably.
Or was it March or April? I can't remember because cameras picked back up in March.
Yeah, so it was
probably April.
Yeah, beginning.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, they must have told them shut your mouth until after the reunion.
Right, or maybe for their own. Maybe their PR people said stop engaging with Sandoval.
It really just, I don't know. We're just like a broken record because we keep saying the same type of stuff. And I'm enjoying this season. Like I said before, I'm not going to stop watching. But I did stop watching in the past. And I feel like it was just because you get a little burnt out with stuff like this. And I'm feeling a little burnt out with how much we're talking about Rachel right now. And that's all I had. Did you have any VPR stuff?
No, I didn't. thought it was kind of a boring episode.
Yeah, I know. I like went.
But yeah, and the only thing I just said earlier, I'm glad people are like, hello, why are you filming somebody who's saying they're going to hurt themselves?
Without saying, let's get you into therapy.
Right.
Like that hasn't even been mentioned.
No,
like they said it in the after show, but
not now. And they're going to get backlash for that too.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
It's not cute.
So to quickly breeze through Beverly Hills, because it was basically just all about the white party, and I'm hoping that more stuff is exciting in the finale that we're going to be getting here in the coming weeks. But this episode was just kind of like blah until the end part where we thought it was over, and then it was like 1 month. Did it say 1 month later?
I was just listening, so I don't know.
Oh, I didn't see that part of it. I think it said like 1 month later.
And again, it kind of like I was just saying, like, we've known this.
Yeah,
like it would have been shocking if we
didn't hear
know.
all of this stuff.
And they haven't been asking Kyle 100 different times about Morgan Wade.
We haven't seen them together a million trillion times. And I know I did want to say about the white party, and I said this, I don't remember if I said it just to you or from the podcast, but I found it absurd that it was at SoFi Stadium.
So did I. And then I thought too, they didn't even utilize.
No.
Why'd you get it in this huge
So you were
thing?
on this
that could have been in your backyard.
It was a little, like, if this whole couch was the stadium, this notebook was how much space they took up on the field. Like, what is the point of that?
I literally thought that too. Like, how much did that cost to rent that out?
That was just such a waste of everything.
You could have that same setup right in their backyard like they used to do.
It was so dumb. And everyone had to cut. And then, like, when Kyle and the girls came in, they tried to make it this grand entrance, but, like, it wasn't.
You had to walk a mile
up
a football field until you got to the...
It was just so dramatic, I thought. And just... that to me just showed, like, we've said this before, the thing that I love about the Housewife franchise in general, it was from the beginning that we saw this glamorous lifestyle, and it was so, like, amazing to see, but these people still felt like attainable almost.
Yeah, it was like they were super wealthy and like over the top, but it wasn't like, I didn't think they were living in... Or I don't know. Yeah, this was like beyond.
Right. Like, I knew that they were always way wealthier than I probably will ever be, unless the pod really takes off. But this was just that moment where I was like, wow, like, we're just throwing money anywhere.
I know. Yeah, it was dumb.
The one thing that they said at the end there was that, oh, you wouldn't have seen this, but we know it already, but where they do the updates of everybody at the end, you know, and they were like, Kyle and Dorit haven't spoken since December.
So what?
I don't know. Did you see this stuff that came out with the text?
Yeah.
I kind of read through it, and I mean, that's all going to come out in the reunion. But it's weird because I really think that Kyle has been on this weird little tour where she's been slowly diminishing her relationship with Dorit, acting as if they weren't close at all. But, like, I think that they were close.
Right. Yeah.
So it's bizarre. And, like, for her and Dorit to not have talked for that long, like, that's weird.
Right.
And then they do, like, the 1 month later thing, and that's where they show the basically end of Kyle and Mauricio's marriage as we know it, which we already know. We already knew that this had happened, but it was just really upsetting. And I think we said this from the very beginning where they showed the clip of this.
Right. It's like, I don't want to see you telling your kids this.
Yeah, like,
it's
that was
so ugh.
That was just, I mean, we talked about the Graham moment being, like, raw. Like, this was very, especially to see little Portia, who's still a teenager, like, crying in her mother's arms about her parents being separated. I mean, that was heart-wrenching.
I know. And it's just like, I know. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see kids. I don't care if they're my age or a little older. I don't want to see kids in pain like that.
Well, and especially since they weren't even saying this happened
I know.
And this is why. I felt like the kids were just like, but why? Like, what's happening? What's going on?
And again, it was just more like the whole season was just vague. And you know what? It's fine. Like, if she really didn't know like where things were gonna go and wasn't sure to what to say on camera, like I totally get that. But it was just like kind of felt like a game all season.
Yeah, and I felt like if you didn't know how to put it on camera the whole season, then don't film a sit down meeting with your husband and daughters.
I know, and that again, I think that would have been a lot more impactful. Like, it just kind of felt like the Scandival thing where we had to pick cameras back up. I think it would have been more impactful had we just heard little rumblings all year, but instead, like, everybody's asking Kyle about it at BravoCon.
Yeah.
And, like, so it just really kind of like ruined it.
Or I wish that, like, if they were gonna do that, then I wish that she would have said, I'm in love with someone else.
I know.
You know,
and if we get that
at the reunion,
I'll be pretty surprised. But like, we kind of talked about that too. Like, just to know Kyle this whole time is like this, you know, like straight and a heteronormative couple for so long. It would, even though there's been like tons of jokes that we've made jokes about it, it really will be shocking to like actually hear her
say it.
Yeah. So, and that we don't know if that's confirmed yet. So that would be pretty...
Shockingly, we don't. Like, that hasn't leaked. Yeah. So that was basically it for Beverly Hills. And from what I'm hearing and kind of seeing little bits and pieces of, like, it is, the reunion is going to get juicier and more entertaining, I guess. Like. But I mean, also, who knows? They can edit things however, but...
I know. Like, Sutton has a weird vendetta against Kyle that I'm just...
And then Kathy Hillen comes out and Sutton, like, freaking has a stroke, you know? Like,
allegedly.
I know. It's probably not even about Kathy.
I know.
So that'll be, hopefully next week we are a little bit more enthusiastic with that. And we can, like, maybe if it's really good and interesting, we can, like, cut through some of the VPR stuff and maybe not go into this detail so we don't have, like, an insanely long episode. But just to, like, be timely, there have been a lot of other drama and rumblings within the Bravo-verse about Andy Cohen and the Housewives. So the first thing that came out was related to Erica Jane. Did you see that? That like just happened where, you know, how she had that lawsuit with that dress designer.
Oh yeah.
Well, apparently I honestly didn't dig deep into it because I don't really care that much, but she basically lost something and they're saying that, like, no, you need to go through with this. Like, we have plenty of reason to believe that you were involved in, you know, not paying him or however they did it. So they were saying that was like a big L for her. But then the bigger thing that came out was Leah McSweeney filing a lawsuit against, was it just Andy or Bravo?
I thought it was Bravo.
And but then basically...
dragging Andy in it, but maybe I'm wrong.
I just think no, I think you're right because she said that
and she's just like adding.
Yeah. This is what I'll say about that. She was an admitted alcoholic before she came on the show.
Right.
Like, no one forced that upon her. She chose to still come on the show.
I know
it was an established show. This wasn't a brand new thing that you're like, well, maybe I'll see how it goes. I don't know what the dynamic's going to be. No, you do know. You do know what the show's about. And I'm not saying that it's all about drinking, but you know that who these women are. Right. You know that they go on trips. You know that they go to parties. You know that. So you're willingly putting yourself in a position that probably isn't going to be good for you.
Right. Well, and it's just like, I think we've talked about it a little bit before too. I'm just sick of them like blaming producers for their own actions.
Yes.
It's like, even Scandival, they're trying to be like, well, she told me to like make out with Schwartz or whatever. Well, you did it.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. And
forced you.
Whatever, maybe they're threatening like, you gotta bring it this season, or I'm just getting wind that your job's gonna be on the line. Well, then you need to decide what's worth it to you. Like, I don't know.
These are grown women, and I saw Dorinda said that. She said basically exactly what you just said. Like, you need to take accountability. Like, you were an adult that put yourself in that situation. Own it.
And how many housewives have come on for one season was like, you know what, this wasn't for me.
I'm out.
And they didn't come back. It's like that Lydia on OC. She literally said like, this was not, and every time you saw her, she'd have like her eyes freaking bulged out, couldn't believe what was happening. And she removed herself from the situation. She didn't enjoy herself. This isn't for me. It's like, that's fine. An option.
Yeah. And like, I appreciate that. Versus somebody that's going to try and force something or do this.
And there's like real things that have kind of gone on that are bigger deals that were not accounted for. And like, that's the type of person that I think has like a leg to stand on. But some of these people just saying, well, I had to drink. I don't know. I don't know.
Like, unless the producer is literally shoving alcohol down your throat, or like prying your mouth open and funneling it in. No, I'm sorry. No, like, I just don't go for that. And
it's like, then get out of the way and I know she wasn't going to do it again, right? Anyway,
Leah.
But but wasn't it? Or it's like somebody else will come and take your place. There's like a freaking anybody would wanna be on the show.
They said she ended up coming back and doing Ultimate Girls Trip.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, really, you were on? Was she on for 2 seasons or?
I thought she was on the end.
3. I think it was at least 2. I don't think it was 1, but I think it was 2. But so you're on for 2 seasons,
right?
And then a break happens for a few years before they do Ultimate Girls Trip. You chose to come back even though things were so horrible the first 2 times you did it. Like, it just frustrates me because I feel like it puts us all in a position where we're victim blaming,
right?
But like, I don't think I am, because I don't think you're a true victim,
right? Like, I think there are situations where there are victims. But I don't think that, like the naked wasted thing, like that.
Like, if she came out and absolutely, I'd be like, yeah,
that is fricked up. But for you to just, I don't know. And it's like, all these housewives are kind of like coming out now and like having this vendetta against Bravo. And I'm just kind of like,
yeah, but it's all ones that aren't currently on the show.
It's just like,
it's
boring.
It's so clear, and it's not even ones that just left either.
Right.
It's ones that have been gone for a while.
I had a bad experience too. I know.
And to say and trigger, we usually don't talk about drugs on this podcast, but to say that, like, to throw Andy under and be like, he smokes or he does cocaine. I don't know why I said smokes, but he does.
We're not real good at this drug thing. What do you do with cocaine?
You smoke it. He does cocaine with the housewives.
I know, we were talking about that before we started filming. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do cocaine.
And I'm sorry, but it's like, we're also talking about, like, I mean, I don't know if she said when in her lawsuit, but it's like, that could have been New York in the early 2000s.
Right.
Like, what do you think was happening? I'm sorry.
All your favorite celebrities were doing cocaine
like,
in the dressing rooms.
On.
I know. And it, just to like say that too, like, that's kind of private information.
It is.
Like, he does have 2 children now.
I know.
And you're like making this accusation that he's like doing cocaine all the time. It's like, that's not.
And people were saying too, like, I'm sorry, weren't these all consenting adults who were doing that? I mean,
and we're talking about women too they're not in the housewives are not in their 20s. They're like in their 40s.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not these little kids that are teenagers that you're like,
and he's
hey,
like, hey guys, want to do a line? Come on, it'd be cool. Like, no, I don't know. I just don't like that. It feels so dirty and wrong and just vindictive and like,
I know.
You're just trying to get your name back out there. And I guess I just don't know, what more are you expecting besides a payout?
I know. I mean, it's like you're burning a bridge.
Yeah, you probably weren't ever going to come back anyway because honestly, you were just psychotic and not that fun to watch on the show because you were just insanely messy and annoying.
I know. And then you're like mad that you looked bad. I know. Well, and then we were talking too, it's like, so no more reality shows.
Yeah.
Because they're all coming out and saying how horrible it is. And maybe whatever.
And not just Bravo. Remember they were saying
like
stuff about like all these. Yeah.
I think even the Love is Blind, there was like a thing.
Stuff.
So it's
tried
like,
to say they didn't feed them or something.
When they're literally showing the food. But yeah, it's like, so no more reality TV. There goes your little Instagram deals now because you guys are being kind of like a baby. I don't know.
We said this before too, though. It's like we are now in 2024, and even I would even say you could go back to like 2016. I mean, I think that's being like even kind of late in your years, but like, you know how the game was played.
Right.
Like these shows have been on for a significant amount of time. Maybe not every single city of the franchise, but like, you know how it goes. You know what the show is like. This shouldn't be so shocking to you.
Right.
Like that you might be put in some situations that maybe you feel uncomfortable and you have to decide how you're going to handle it.
Right. I know. And then if you're not into it, then don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, stop. And that's like, it's just, again, taking accountability for your actions. You're just trying to push it off on somebody else and make it seem like it's someone else's problem when no, it's yours. Like you actually did that.
Right.
Like when they talk about stuff with like you said with the Scandival thing, it's like, okay, but you said these words.
Right.
You had the affair. Like no one forced you to do these things.
No.
So I don't know. I'm feeling so like kind of bad about it though, because it's just last week Bravo had a tough week with stuff that was coming out with the Brandy stuff.
And I do like, as much as I think people aren't taking the sides of some of these housewives, but I do think people are, and it is going to affect.
Yeah.
And it's going to take I don't want to say the fun out of reality TV,
things will
but
change.
Like,
things will change.
Yeah, and then like we said, the Sandoval thing and that rhetoric around the mental health and them still recording, that's going to change some stuff too, I'm sure. And
there's some changes that needed to be made, but it just feels like with how some of these lawsuits are going, that is not the motivation behind them.
No.
You know, to bring forth change in a positive way.
No, it's to get
it's
the
to
money
take
because I
people down.
embarrassed myself.
Yeah, and to get money. Exactly. So I guess we'll see next week how that plays out. But yeah, did you like Leah when she was on?
I didn't really watch at that point.
Yeah, I didn't really like her. Like, I just did not care. She's like a very abrasive personality, and I just wasn't into that. So, yeah, that's why she didn't do that many more seasons.
Nope.
All right, recommendations?
Love is Blind. Give it a watch.
Start from the beginning.
Yes.
I'm going to recommend, and I didn't write down the brand, but I'll link it in our description if anybody looks at that. Like, I wish we knew if people clicked on our recommendations. We're probably out here getting a bunch of people to buy stuff and watch stuff, and we have no kickback. Just kidding. We definitely don't have that happening. But I was influenced by Allie Luber from VPR. She had posted on her Instagram the teeth whitening strips that she used. And I don't know exactly if they're going to show change over time, but they do definitely make your teeth look whiter, like within the few hours after you take it off. So I will report back about the longevity, but right now I would definitely say, like, if you're going out for an event or even just hanging out with your friends or whatever, and you want a little spruce up, then I would use them. I'll link them from Amazon. But that's something, and I snapped you about this, where like I want to whiten my teeth, but I don't want to pay a ton of money to do it.
I know.
And then I get mad because I'm like, oh, none of these products work. Well, because
of course they're not gonna work.
I'm getting them from like the dollar store. Like, of course not.
I know.
But anyway, so yeah, well, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to rate and review us. Good reviews only, please. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.